Okay, we're going to continue to talk about illusion. And there's two main levels of illusion. We can call it higher and lower illusion. Does anyone have an idea of what the difference is between higher and lower illusion?
One would be mental,
Okay,
one would
that would be the higher, and
be the higher, and
what would be the
the
lower?
lower illusion would be trapped in the material world. Glamour, glamour is an illusion.
I give a story about that kind of illustrates the levels of illusion. Imagine that your true home was in a little bit like this parable, the prodigal son. The prodigal son's true home was with the house of his father. He had all of his needs taken care of, and he decided he wanted to go explore the world. So imagine you leave the home of your spiritual home, and you board a ship and you sail off onto the sea, and you decide you want to explore under the ocean. So you have this special suit that provides sustenance while you can dive to the depths of the ocean. And in this special suit, you jump off the ship and decide to see what's down there. And you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And the deeper you go, the less light there is. And once you get so deep, there's no light at all. And so, fortunately for you, you brought along a flashlight. And so, all you can see is what you can see with your flashlight. You finally land on the bottom of the ocean, and there's all kinds of like interesting things down there. And, but you can't see everything. Sometimes, maybe if some big fish would bump into you, and you would be a total surprise because you can only see a certain amount that's right in front of you. And so you explore down there. Now, while you're exploring down there, uh, you don't have any, uh, the sun is still up there shining on the waters and on your ship, but you can't see it anymore. It's there. And you have a thread that connects you with the surface, but you're pretty much down there in the dark with just a flashlight. Now, the world down there that you can see with your flashlight is comparable to the material world that we see here. And the material world, we can just see pretty much what's straight in front of us. We just have a little bit of light. We can just see a short distance right in front of us, but it's kind of interesting. We find it interesting to explore. And so this is compared to Maya, the attraction of the material world to us. So we're down here, and it's kind of almost like we're not even thinking of where we come from. Matter of fact, here when we are here, we pretty much have lost our memory. We have a sense of something up there, but we kind of lost our memory, or we're not thinking about it. So we're just exploring what we can see with our little flashlight. And we just see bits and pieces of things and trying to put together what is real from what we can see uh, is quite difficult. So we explore there, and after we explore there, we decide we want to go back. So we begin to ascend, but as we ascend, you're in pitch blackness, and you shine the flashlight, you can't even see anything once you left the material world. And so you're suspended there, and it's kind of scary. And this water you're surrounded by is symbolic of the feeling world. the astral world. And it's totally embraces you, and you go by your feeling, and you're not sure whether to go up or down because you don't have a lot of sense of what's up and down. You're just floating there in blackness, and eventually you have a sense of what's up, but you kind of felt when you had your feet on the ground, you were more secure. So maybe you go up a ways and then you go back down because that feels more secure. But you go up and down for a while and then eventually make a decision to ascend. And so you finally get the guts enough to ascend in the blackness. And then as you ascend, there's a little bit more light and a little bit more light until you come up above the sea and into the air. And the air is symbolic of mind. And once you get in the mind, then you look around and you can't see your ship. So now you're really frightened. You ascend out of the feeling world into the mind, and you're terrified at first, but then you realize that there was a problem, that your glass on your that covered your eyes was all fogged over, and you just have to wipe out that fog. And once you wipe out the fog, you can see, hey, my ship is here, it's in a distance. So I have to go find my ship. And so he swims over to the ship, he gets rescued and gets on a ship. And then he has to figure out how to sail home. He's now free. He's on top of the water, and the material world is underneath him. So he's mastered that, and now he's in the mind. Okay. So now the mind has to figure out which direction to sail. So he can sail, maybe if he's not careful, he can wind up sailing the wrong direction if he gets a wrong GPS or whatever he's using, or the compass may be off a little bit. So he has to use these instruments that's in harmony with mind to figure out how to sail the ship back home to the realm of spirit. And so that's kind of a little parable to kind of give us an idea. But the lower illusions are connected with the floor of the ocean, or matter, the attraction of matter and form, produce a different type of illusion when you're down there than when you're up on the ship. Totally different, because when you're down there, you're not thinking of a compass or connecting to the internet or anything like that. You're thinking of, well, what's this I see in front of me? What's the new thing I want to see, because I want to see everything in this world down here. So your thoughts are directed in a totally different way when you're submerged in the ocean of feeling and form than when you begin to escape that into the world of mind that eventually takes you to the world of spirit. So what is it, what would be the difference between an illusion connected with matter or emotion compared to an illusion of the mind? What do you think? Well, let me ask you this. There's a lot of people think that the purpose of life is to get rich and have pleasure, right? Is that the highest purpose, or is that an illusionary purpose?
That would be the illusion of the underwater people.
Yeah, right. So, and a lot of people think that. They think, well, I get a good job, make money, and have nice car, nice home. That's where it is, you know, for the ultimate. That's the ultimate that they can think of. And this is an illusion connected with what we call Maya, the pull of matter itself. To get a hot companion that's good looking and have hot sex and all this, they think all these attractions of matter that's where that's where it's at, you know. Like they say, he who dies with the most toys wins.
Wins.
Remember that statement that somebody come up with? And that's the illusion of the draw of the material world, and that's what people think. He who dies with the most toys wins.
So it's about rising to the top in the material world. My house is bigger than yours. And that creates the glamour. The glamour is, hey, my house is bigger than yours, and so I'm better than you.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cultural illusions and illusions of thought forms of the neighborhood you live in.
Yeah. So that's the material world is a big illusion in itself, but the people that are drawn to that want to see material success as where the ultimate happiness is, that's a tremendous illusion that is so powerful that it distracts them from higher illusions. This is what we call a lower illusion, but this lower illusion is the most common illusion that's held among humanity. Probably over 70-80% of humanity are caught in this illusion that this is where it's at. If I could just achieve financial success or fame or the right hot partner, boy, then I would be happy, and I would have everything I want then. And that's an illusion. And you know, you hear stories of these people that have achieved great success, and after they achieve it, they say they're no happier than the average guy out there that didn't do it for them. They thought it would do it, but when they got there, they found out it didn't really do it for them. Yeah, Ed's a rich guy, and it didn't make him that much happier, huh, Ed?
Well, I've never lived a life. I've never looked to make money and success, but I have more money than I need.
Can I have some of it?
Sure. Hold out your hand.
He'll give you 50
Hold out your hand.
He'll give you 50 cents, Curtis. Yeah.
Well, Ed's a generous guy. Every time he comes to my birthday, he brings tons of produce that he's made himself.
Yeah. So anyway,
George Lambert said, if you would have cows, you'll have care of cows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next very powerful illusion is connected with the waters of emotion, so to speak. And that's very much connected with the ego, where we have to have this feeling of importance. And for a lot of people, this feeling of importance and feeling of having our emotions titillated is more important than making money. Because there's Buddhist monks that run around naked that just take a lot of pride in the fact that, boy, I don't need anything. I'm really better than these other guys. So even though some of them may not have anything except maybe something to cover their necessities, they still can be caught in that trap of the ego. And a lot of religious people are this way too. You know, they think, well, I'm a member of this religion, and it's better than everybody else's religion or belief system, or I'm saved by Jesus, and
You're not.
I'm special. And that means more to them than money and pleasure and things like this. They're willing to sacrifice and give of their necessities to help people, and it strengthens it. That's good if they do it with the right attitude, but a lot of people, it just inflates their ego because it gives them a feeling of superiority. And this is illusion also, illusion created by feeling.
Well, the grand illusion is that it causes separation when there is no separation.
Now, the Bible says the heart is the most deceptive of all things. And when it says that, it's not talking about the love energies of the heart, but it's talking about the desire nature. And people associate, what the heart wants often with lower desires. And the lower desire nature is very deceptive. It's like looking in a mirror. When you look in a mirror, everything is reversed. You don't see what you really look like to somebody that's actually looking at you. You see your face being reversed. So it looks like you. It looks like the way you really look, but it isn't. It's reversed. Just hold up some type in a mirror and look at it, and you can't read it because it's all reversed. And this is a problem with the emotional world. It reverses everything. So you hold up some script in this emotional world, and everybody reads it, has a hard time reading it accurately, just like you would have a hard time reading a newspaper in a mirror, because everything is reversed. So everything is reversed in this emotional world, and we think we see accurately because we feel and we go by our feelings, and they will often lead us in the wrong direction. And one of the most common ways this happens is in love. People fall in love with a person that is just not good for them at all. But they were charmed by this person, and they think, oh, love will conquer all. I love him so much and going to marry him or her. And then it turns out to be a total disaster. And after it's all over, the person will ask this question: what in the world did I see in this person? Because I can't stand him or her now. But has anyone ever done that before? Married somebody you really, or a guy had a relationship with somebody that you were really attracted to, and then after it was all over, you couldn't stand to be around him?
That is the story of my life.
Oh, yeah. Why were you deceived there, Rain? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One, it was a reflection of where I was at the time. I thought that was something I needed or deserved. And two, it was my higher self trying to show me that I don't need to be connected to that anymore. Trying to show me where my thoughts were at the time so that
Yeah.
I could rise above it.
And one of the purposes of this happening to us all, and all of us have gone through this type of thing, if not this life, past lives, and it's experience. The emotional self pulls us into experience that if we were thinking about it, we would have never done it. But once it's over and you look back, you think that experience was really helpful to me. I learned a lot. I suppose you could say you learned a lot from your experiences, didn't you, Rain?
Absolutely. Every time I went into that situation, I learned more and more about myself.
Yeah. And so we go into these experiences that we wouldn't have gone into if we were using our minds appropriately. And it's all part of a divine purpose because, like I say, a lot of the things that most of us have done in our lives, when we look back, we think to ourselves, now, if I was thinking clearly, I would not have done that. But then because you did do it, you learned a lot of different things. And so a lot of our biggest mistakes are our biggest learning advances. And in between lives, what we do for our next life is we go through a planning process. And Michael Newton, who has took about, I think about 7,000 people or so back to life between lives, again and again, people told him how they actually planned their lives. And a lot of them wanted a difficult life. And they planned to follow their emotional selves into a lot of difficulty just so that they would learn to be able to master that situation. You can't really master a difficult situation unless you actually go into it. If you're on a ship, you can't master sailing through a storm unless you go into a storm. And on the other side, we think, well, I'm going to take myself into these storms so I can learn to be a skillful mariner. But then when we get down here and we're entering into the storm, we think, oh no, this is something I would have never chosen. But
there's that, and there's also karmic necessity that when the bill collector comes, you have to pay.
yeah, and we realize that when we plan our lives, we think, well, you know, I need to balance off this karma and learn these lessons, and that's all part of the choice that we make. And we actually look forward to balancing off our karma on the other side. But then when we get down here and it's difficult, then it's another story. This one gal that had this near-death experience, she had a vision of how she planned her life because she had a really difficult life. And all through her, she was pretty much discounted God because it was so difficult. She thought God would have never given her this life. And then she had a near-death experience. And she asked, why is my life so hard? And so they showed her that she actually planned her life, and they give her an image of going through these aisles with a shopping cart. And there was these boxes, and each box had some type of difficulty to solve in life. And she said she saw herself going through these aisles and said, oh, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to learn a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. And they said, see how you were enthused about shopping and pulling these things off the shelf? And she said, yeah, I guess I wasn't thinking clearly that I took off more than I could chew. But when she came back from the near-death experience, she realized that she chose everything. But when she got down here, it was a lot harder. She wished she hadn't have been so eager to take all those chores. But so what do you think, Marnie? You've had some difficulties in life. Can you see yourself going through the aisles and saying, hey, I'm going to pick this difficulty because it's going to be really interesting? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I can see that probably. I mean, going through the hard parts, I don't think that in the moment I was thinking that, but I think looking back, then I can see that perspective. So
yeah. Then you got a pretty good husband to deal with, so he must have picked a box of treats there too,
I guess.
huh?
Life is like a box of chocolates.
Yeah. So anyway, it's interesting. So we have these illusions connected with the emotional self, but it's illusions that's important for us to go through to learn. There are learning devices. we go through the material illusion, we learn, we become successful, we have the money we need, and then we think that is where it's at. But then when we get it, we think there's got to be more. And so then we switch to the illusion connected with feeling. And we think, oh, if I'm satisfy my feelings and have great experiences and get the love of my life and everything, then I will be happy. And they get all these things, and still there's a feeling that there's got to be more. And then they switch over to the mind. And then this is where the tricky illusions are, because we have a strong desire to get out of the material and the emotional illusions, because they bring obvious pain to us when we're not satisfied in some way. And so we work our way out of them. But then when you come above surface and your vision is fogged over and you don't know if your ship is waiting for you, then you got tricks of the mind that you have to solve. And the thing is, you don't have the impetus to solve them the way that you do with the lower illusions. The higher illusions are tricky, and they seem satisfying for a period of time. What is an example of an illusion of the mind?
I think that your belief that you really have achieved spiritual contact sometimes is as an illusion, because we really don't know the highest form of spiritual contact.
Yeah, that's part of it. Now, illusion of the mind is where you tune in to some idea or thought form, and you think this is connected with the true reality, with the will of God. It could be like you've joined a religion, for instance, and say you become a Christian and you read the Bible and you think, boy, this is the word of God. This is it. Okay. So whatever this is tells me I'm going to believe. And so you read that the world was created in 6 days. So you think, well, that must mean God created the world in 6 24-hour days. So that's what it says. So that must be it. So that's not connected with a feeling I want to be rich or having a big ego or anything like this. It's connected with the way that you think, and you're tuning in to ideas that are just in circulation in the ethers. Well, so how do you get out of that? Have you talked to somebody that I think all of us has, for instance, that believes in the earth is no older than 10,000 years because of what the Bible says? Either God created the world in 6 24-hour days, or there's another place that says a day with God is 1,000 years to man. So maybe it took 6,000 years to create the earth. So whatever. So they look at all these things literally, but it's an idea of the mind that they bought into. Now, Ed, I imagine you've had conversations with a lot of fundamentalists. Have you been able to change any of their minds?
Well, actually, no, but there's a guy at the senior center who he's one of those who believes that the earth is created in 7 days.
Yeah.
But I told him that a day of Brahma is some 300 and some 44 million years.
Yeah. I'm sure he bought into that, Yeah.
And I also told him there's more to life than what you learned in Sunday school.
Yeah. How about anybody else? Anybody else been able to change somebody's mind about the young Earth type idea? How about you, Johann? Have you had any conversations with religious people that think the Earth is created in 6 days?
I'm always having conversation with people, but not about religion.
Yeah. Well, you find anybody with kind of a they glom onto some idea and they believe it. It's very difficult to change them. You can present them with logic. Has anyone ever talked to one of the flat Earth believers?
I don't know any. They don't have any of those here in New Plymouth.
There's a bunch of them on Facebook. Yeah, I've had conversations with them, and I presented them with hard facts, photos, everything. Man, they say, well, it's all a lie, you know. And
I think it's
you just can't change their minds because it's those illusions of the mind are very powerful and they're hard to see. Manuel, you had something?
yeah. I was just gonna mention. I remember the guy that baptized me. He was a good friend of mine, and he said, "Hey, how long has your mom been in the Catholic Church for?" I'm like 64 years, and so I'm like, there's really no turning back on that one. They have even a saying that says, "Once you're Catholic, you die Catholic." And anyway, he what I loved about his approach, he said, "Well, let me go talk to her and let me see what I can do." And I really feel like it was it was his questions that made her open up her mind of things that she's believed in before, at least in regards to the doctrine of the church, that don't make sense to a regular person, and they kind of leave it as a mystery. So because they're kind of not holding on to it too tight, he kind of kept asking questions about the mysteries that probably she was leaning towards a different conclusion. So for example, he would say something like, "Hey, do you feel like if a baby dies in Africa that he goes directly to hell? Do you actually believe that?" And she was like, "No, I don't. It doesn't sound right to me. I've heard that from our church, but I don't really believe that." You know, and so he kind of started asking questions back to back, and he also said stuff like, you know, so I guess for me, I feel like if you ask the right question and let them come to their own conclusion is a lot easier than throwing up doctrine in someone's face and not asking them any questions, is my opinion.
Yeah, usually what happens to force a person out of the illusion is the person comes to a dead end of some type in his life. If they're presented with facts, even though the facts are obvious to everybody else, like these people, 39 people that killed themselves to hop on the Hellbot comet. You know, it sounds crazy to us, but they were captured by this illusion, and nobody could talk them out of it. And but what happens to finally get us out of illusion is two things. Number one is you reach a dead end, and you think there's got to be something more than this, because this doesn't make sense. And so they start to think about it. And when they start to think about it, they get to the second thing, which is intuition. They get a flash of intuition that brings them enlightenment. But they got to have some connection to receiving from a higher source to dispel that illusion, because they're so trapped into it. Now, there's a number of people here that have been captured by religious ideas that they've kind of escaped from. Tyler, you were raised a good Mormon, and you're able to see out of it, even though your family isn't. What was it that made you were able to see beyond the illusion of the powerful authority in your church?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What made me be able to see beyond the authority?
Yeah, to look outside of your religious teachings.
I don't know. I've always, there was a point that I recall just going, I want to learn what goes on in the temple. I wanted to learn the symbology behind what is in the temple. And I didn't let the kind of the thought form in the church prevent me from looking into it. So I just found what I thought made sense to me on the internet. There was a book that some gentleman wrote about it, and that was just kind of it from there. I mean, I wasn't completely like out from under the thumb of the beast at that point, and I'm probably still not, to be frank. But at least to the extent that I'm here, I've been with you guys for 15 years, so I don't know. I don't know if there's a particular thing, but I just have a curiosity that doesn't allow me to stop.
Well, some people like born into religion, like myself, and this similarly, I was really into it at one time, but I've always been very curious. So that's kind of a saving grace for a lot of people. Okay, well, I'll end this by reading a couple of quotes from the Tibetan about this. As a disciple overcomes the lower and sees the higher, astral and physical worlds no longer shut him away from the realities, from the true subjective world of causes and force emanations. He is no longer deceived and can discriminate between the real and the unreal, between the true and the false, between the life of the spirit and the world of phenomena. And this is where, once the illusions of the mind are dispelled, then he can discriminate between the true and the false. And this is something that almost everybody has difficulty in some area of his life discerning the true and the false.
Where was that found, by the way?
Light of the Soul, page 165. Where the intuition is unawakened, the illusion is complete and real. So the intuition must be awakened, or else the illusion, he says, is complete and real. In other words, it's like you can't tell the difference between the illusion and what's not illusion. And then he says, entering this stage of higher initiation, one sees beyond illusion, and this is due to the development of the sense of the intuition, which puts into the disciple's hand an infallible instrument whereby to discriminate and to discern. His perception is becoming accurate, and he stands relatively free from deception and wrong identifications and interpretations.
Is that in Light of the Soul too?
Oh, that's a Glamour, page 101. And so, this is the end of the journey, is to be able to be free from these deceptions, to be able to discern the true from the untrue. And what makes illusion so deceptive is all of us can see some things that are true and some things that are not true. And so we all think we have that ability, but when the illusions are presented to us, that ability is obscured and reversed, and we discover we're very limited in that ability. But when the intuition comes and we have that connection to the higher self, then the illusions evaporate and the disciple is able to see the real from the unreal, to discern the two. And that's where we all want to go.
And when you try to convince someone that they're in an illusion, they only go deeper into that illusion. It's like when I try to convince Curtis of the error of his political choices, it goes deeper into his political choices.
Yeah, well, when you get in politics, who's the right and who's the wrong? That's where the illusion is.
Just better wake up over there, Ed. You're gonna get trapped in your glamours of illusion and not get out.
See what I mean?
You're gonna have to use a
See what I
winch and a
mean?
long cable just to haul us out of the darkness.
Well, once you reduce it to Republicans and Democrats, they both think the other guy is in delusion.
Well, I want to share something, and that's in the 70s when I was an active member
Well,
of
I've never been
and
partisan.
and you realize that, hey, this kid might have some sensibility about him. Well, what our common ground was logic, and you used a lot of logic, like when you asked the question, well, did you know that there are kingdoms above the celestial? Well, no, show me. And so you showed me, and you used logic. Or did you know that there are men that are smarter than the prophet? No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Can show me where it says that, I'd say. And you would. So you used a lot of logic that I could follow, step by step until you got into reincarnation. And then I had to have more than logic. Logic alone wasn't going to do it.
But I use things that you already believed in, like I showed you scriptures that you accepted, and
Right.
that kind of lifted you up a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what you did. You took the ground that I was familiar with, my terrain, and you shifted it. But then I needed more than logic, and I had to have a spiritual witness, and that's where reincarnation came in. And that's what Hercules found on his path to discover these apples of Hesperides, which represented wisdom. He comes across this serpent Antaeus in the swamp, and he has to subdue this serpent, and he wrestles with him in the swamp, and he gets no foothold, no purchase, no leverage until and the swan and the serpent represents glamour and illusion and all these things that you're talking about. And you know what Hercules had to do to overcome the serpent?
Lifted him up.
He threw him up into the
Yeah.
air, right? He lifted him up into the air, into the light of reason, and he was able to use logic and reach the level of his intuition to dispel all of the wrong, false ideas that he had espoused.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we have to do to try to find somebody in illusion and try to convince them without lifting them up, but just where they are won't do it. You have to, something happens to have to pull them up a little higher in their thinking. And
When I was in the church,
yeah,
I was really strongly active in the church. I was in 100%, moved into a new ward, and the new bishop in the new ward, I was telling him about my previous life, and he said, "Were you ever punished for that?" And I thought, what, 3 years ago when I committed this sin? I mean, my bishop at the time dealt with it. He said, "Yeah, but did he punish you?" And I thought, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. What do you mean, punish me? He told me I was doing something wrong. I fixed it and I'm good. I'm good with God. And he's like, "No, I'm going to have to punish you because
wow,
you committed a sin 3 years ago." And in that moment, I knew that that man had no authority over me. He did not know my connection to God. He knew nothing about me. He had no ability to help me with my connection to God in any way. And that's when I knew the church had become institutionalized. No matter what the truth was about the church, it was an institution of obedience required. And I left, found you right after.
yeah, even most active Mormons would not agree with that, Bishop. Yeah, heck of a deal.
Well, let me tell you, one of my spirit teachers said, when you climb climb higher in the tree, you can see farther down the path.
Yeah. Good point. Okay, my friends, good discussion, and we will post this for everybody to access shortly if you want to share it. And until then, until next week, may the Spirit be with you.
Amen.
Thanks, JJ. It's nice coming back.
Oh, good to see you again.